first time doing it with each other would be awkward or not.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome back to MehdinaTV.
We gotta eat Pizza Hut.
We're back with another long video.
Finally back.
Today we will be reacting to your expectations about marriage. We might be giving some marriage advice. We might be just talking about what it's like to be a couple or newly married couple. So on Instagram, we actually asked you guys to give us some expectations that you have about marriage. And today we will be reacting to those. Also, a disclaimer, if you guys are little kids or if you guys don't like mature topics, click off and please take care of yourself because this video might contain some mature topics that you might not be comfortable watching. Before we get into the video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you get notified every time we post. Did you click it? Now let's get into the video. Men are extremely excited to get married, but then don't put efforts later in marriage.
Ooh. That's an interesting one. I would like to think that I still put the same amount of effort, if not more, into our relationship. I would say it's interesting because there's certain things that do become a little bit more difficult. For example, Mubina loves surprises. And this is probably an area that I need to work on more because I'm the type of person where I'm not good at keeping surprises. And when we lived separately, it was like, okay, I can surprise you, you won't know. Yeah. But because we live together, sometimes I have a habit of be like, Mubina, I want to do this for you. And then she's like, why did you tell me you did this? So that's one area I do want to do better with, and I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah, so I think every couple is different. I think usually men will still keep putting effort into marriage. I mean, if they care about the marriage, they will put effort into it. Not just men, women too. Like, I'm still learning things about him. And I do try to put effort into stuff. I'm just not as vocal about it.
So yeah, it ultimately depends how much you care to put in that effort. And ultimately, if you're getting married, you should be wanting to put more and more effort as you grow closer with that person and you love them more.
Exactly. Expect to put more effort into marriage, guys. Don't just be like, oh, we're gonna get married and then everything will be like rainbows and sunshine going forward after that. Is it possible for the spark to fade and life becomes boring for both and they can't stand each other? I don't know if that's something that we personally have gone through, but I think it does happen for some couples. And the thing is, it can happen, but you really have to work hard at keeping that spark. There are different things you can do to keep that spark going, like doing things for one another when the other doesn't expect it, or just being kind or polite, or, you know, sometimes just letting the wife rest and then you do the cleaning, or like the other times you just let your husband rest. If he comes home from work, you just let him rest and you can do, like, you know, some of the things for him that he really likes. So just things like that. I think that keeps the spark going. I don't think it makes it fade, especially if you love one another.
Yeah, I think, like, I agree with you that you have to be considerate of the other person. If you know they're having a rough day, just kind of be aware and put yourself in their shoes. And if you could do something nice for them to make their day better, that helps. But also doing things that are fun, that are different, that you don't normally do. Like Rubina and I, we do try to, like, sometimes go on certain trips and things like that to kind of keep things alive. If we can have like a date every week, so it doesn't always happen. Yeah. But whenever we can have like some time alone together to do something new, we like trying new things.
So you guys do need these like personal outings or dates and these things to, like, you know, really bond with each other on a different level, because it's very important to do that. And sometimes you can't do that when you're just stuck at home and you're living a routine life, you know. I
think a lot of people think because we work like maybe remotely right now that it's like, oh, you guys spend all your time together. It's like, no, we're literally doing separate things all day long, and the weekend is literally the only time we get personal time together. So it's like, value and cherish that personal time and make sure that you make time to have that one-on-one time. It's really important.
Is farting embarrassing? I mean, I think usually the expectation that you have is you get married and then you get comfortable enough with your partner where you can do all that stuff.
We're not obviously going to go into detail with these type of questions too much because these things are kind of personal and awkward, but like, yeah, I think it depends on the person. You shouldn't push someone to be like, you need to do this in front of me. I think sometimes when you are at that comfort level where you'll do it in front of the other person, they feel special because it's like, you only do that in front of me kind of thing. But it's like, I think for a lot of people it's embarrassing. For me, it is kind of embarrassing too, but I'm probably the more comfortable one, I'd say.
The thing is with that kind of stuff, it comes with time. I mean, there are couples where they just won't allow it to happen in front of the other person, right? But for me, like, I feel like it's a natural thing. You can't really stop it from happening. So I kind of take it as, well, where else is he gonna go? Like, I'm not gonna expect him to run to the bathroom and do it every time.
Yeah,
that can't always happen.
No.
Especially when you're sleeping at night. That can't always happen. I don't think you can put that kind of expectation on your husband. Oh, go run to the bathroom every time.
I mean, sometimes you gotta feel comfortable, you know?
I know,
Because if
yeah,
you
but like obviously there are people that aren't comfortable with that and they will expect you to run to the bathroom, which is completely fine. That's
Yeah.
that's how they are, and you should respect that too.
in certain respects, if you know you're very gassy or something, try not to like do too much of it.
Okay, alright,
Okay.
So in terms of an expectation, yeah, I mean it depends, honestly. It depends on how comfortable you get with your partner. It's not gonna happen at a get-go. Like, you're not gonna be comfortable immediately after marriage, like
You
on the
might-
next day.
you might, there might be some
You
people who
might.
are. There might be some people who are. I don't
Okay,
know.
clearly I don't know enough about this.
But generally, yes, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, but sometimes it does take time.
Yeah.
First time doing it with each other would be awkward or not. So
It's like such a blunt question, man.
I don't know if we can go into too much detail with this question, but in a general sense, it really depends on how well you know the person during your courtship process. Sometimes people are awkward and sometimes people are not, and you have to be ready to expect either or. That's what I would say about it.
I agree with the fact of like having expectations. Do not hold any expectations for your partner. Do not even hold expectations like on the night of the wedding, I feel. And maybe in certain cultures, people are like, this must happen. You must have like physical intimacy on the night of or whatnot. But sometimes the other person may not be ready for it. You guys may have had a long day on your wedding day or something. You don't know what's going to happen, right? So just keep your mind open and be respectful to the comfort level of the other person.
Exactly.
If you know they're not comfortable, do not push it.
Especially on that day when there's so many emotions going on during the wedding, during the whole process. It's like, you know, the last thing that you want to do is push the other person.
If you don't know the person, I feel like it would be more on the awkward side. But one thing people need to understand is it's not what you see in TV and movies, how things go most of the time. It usually can be, you're kind of discovering each other in a different way for the first time. So you're obviously going to not know what the other person's preferences and what your preferences are for certain things. So just relax and just take it one step at a time and don't expect things to be perfect right away.
Exactly. Does it feel awkward or weird when your husband touches you for the first time? In my experience, yes. Yes, it's really awkward. I mean, for me, I usually never really interacted with men too much before my marriage with Garrett. So what happened on our wedding day was not only did I hold his hand, but I also showed him my face for the first time. So it was like double the awkwardness. Now this guy who's never seen my face can see my face. I'm like, I don't have my veil to protect me from any of my emotions being visible in front of him, because before that, he couldn't really see my expressions, right? But then, like, now I'm on this occasion and he can see all of my expressions. So I'm like internally freaking out. And then on top of that, like, we can hold hands, we can just like, you know, we can sit together, and it's just a lot of emotions going on. So yes, it is awkward and weird when we touched for the first time. It was very awkward, especially when we were doing it in front of people. It felt like we were doing something illegal.
I think for like West people in different religions and like Western culture, you guys are probably like, why are you making such a big deal about holding hands or sitting together? But you have to understand, for like these born Muslims, that this is something that they do for the first time. If they're practicing, it's their first time ever like holding hands with a guy or something, right? So
Well,
for them,
I mean,
it's going to
like,
be a lot more of a...
I did do
thing.
that in the past. Like, I used to shake hands with men in the past because I wasn't a niqabi or a hijabi.
It's not the same thing.
But, okay, I guess it's not the same thing. But I'm just saying, like, you know, I've had experience like touching men in the past. But obviously it's different when it's your husband, and it's just, I don't know, it just feels illegal on the wedding day. You guys let us know in the comments what you think, but it felt illegal for me. I don't think it felt like that for you.
Not a big deal for me.
Fighting never happens. Okay, all right. I want to get into this. Like, I really want to get into this. Guys, you cannot expect that fighting never happens. Like, that's impossible. You almost need it to become closer to one another, because then that way you find out what the other person likes and dislikes. It kind of gives you a way to grow together as a couple and see what you're not supposed to do to avoid that kind of stuff in the future, you know?
Yeah. I think one thing, because like I didn't have my family around to kind of help me through this initial stage of getting married, is that I feel like you guys should expect that, especially in that first year of marriage, it might be one of your most challenging years. Because that's the year you're spending your life with a whole new human being. You might, like us, we live alone together. There's no family with us right now. So like, it's just us in the house. you might have certain habits, the other person might have certain habits, and you kind of have to find a way to mesh. It might look easier than what it actually is. So I feel like in our first year of marriage, that's probably the most difficult for us because we were trying to get to know each other, and then you do something, the other person's like, why are you doing it like this? It should be like this. And then you have to, like, there's a whole effort thing that has to go on where you have to understand the other person. And then over time, you eventually kind of gel a little bit more because you know that this person likes this thing at this time, this person prefers this at this time, kind of thing. So expect that it could be a little bit difficult and challenging, but the key is here, you have to be really patient and tolerant and understanding of the other person, because that's a really key pivotal time, and a lot of people do struggle in their first year of trying to like make things work out.
Yeah, I think I agree with you completely on that. Also, one thing I did, like, I actually had that expectation that when I got married, I will never fight, because I'm like the most, at least I saw myself as the most non-conflicting person. I never had any fights with any of my friends. Like, I never had any arguments with anybody that I ever really interacted with. So I thought that, you know, because I'm like this, I'm never gonna have any arguments with my husband. But I stand corrected because it happens. Even if you're like the most non-conflicting person ever.
It definitely does.
Even if you're like the most non-argumentative person ever, it'll happen, because when you're constantly living with a person, you know there's no way out. Like, you can't really have space from the other person, so you don't really get that time.
So I think one thing that makes our relationship a little bit unique is, like, shortly after we got married, we started making like YouTube videos and TikToks and things like that, and that basically a lot of our free time was used to make videos, so we didn't have as much time to actually get to know one another in a more personal way. And then on top of that, we got married during a pandemic, so we were basically stuck together all the time, and then our free time we're using to film videos. So not only will we maybe have disagreements in our personal life, but also in our work life as well. So we had additional challenges to navigate there. So I would suggest, if you're first getting married, try to take some downtime, where maybe you go on a honeymoon, maybe take some time to just chill out a little bit and get to know that person. Do not overload your plate right away, because you're already going to be overwhelmed with getting to know that person and making things work. But then on top of that, you're working a lot together, which can become very overwhelming.
I definitely will say that it was very stressful, and because of that unique situation, it is harder for us to avoid misunderstandings that can arise, because that's something that nobody in my family is used to. Like, I can't really look at anyone to tell me how it is like to work with your husband on social media stuff, because no one has that experience, and likewise he can't do that with his family members either. Our dynamic is just completely very different because we work together on social media, plus I have a different job as well. So it's too much, guys. Sometimes it's just too much, and you just need, like, I don't know, you're not thinking straight and misunderstandings happen.
But we've been able to show that even if you have a unique type of situation where you're like, your life is kind of chaotic at first when you first get married, that things can work out. You just really, patience is really, really important. If that other person's like trying to argue with you or something, sometimes you just gotta let them win and just be like, you know, have it your way.
Are you saying that I'm always right?
Sometimes,
because you let me be right?
If we're like filming a video and I disagree with you, sometimes I'm just like, whatever, let's just do it this way, because there's no point fighting, honestly, because it just makes things worse.
There's no point fighting.
Let the other person win sometimes.
Alright, my husband will always take care of me when I'm on that time of month.
I think, you know, that one is also going to be a learning process, especially say you're a guy and you've grown up with all boys around you, you may not know very much at all. Or even some cultures, they don't really talk about this topic very much, but it's very important that you become sensitive and aware to it. I feel like there are certain things I could probably do more to understand and to know how to treat, because sometimes, like, we'll be working together or doing something and I forget that, oh yeah, you're not feeling too well right now.
Yeah.
So you have to go easier on them at that time. Like, if you're feeling a little bit irritable, I have to remind myself, okay, you're not feeling too well. What can I do to make you feel better? You kind of have to cater to their need a little bit and look after them so they feel comfortable.
But is that a valid expectation though? Because like,
yes.
I think it's a valid expectation, but don't expect your husband to know right away what to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
Yeah, about how to take care of you. I mean, honestly, every woman is different. Every woman needs different things during that time. Like, for me, I just want more understanding and just tell me everything I'm saying is correct.
Oh my goodness.
I don't want to be corrected, okay? But every woman is different, obviously. Like, it's an emotional time. It's just a painful time.
Ultimately, what I would say to close this out is that do not expect things to be perfect right away, okay?
Yeah.
There's going to be things that like irritate you about the other person, but you have to understand that it's a gradual learning process. If your husband's not surprising you as much as you want, he's not doing as much things for you, your wife is not knowing how to cook certain foods right away, for example, or your husband, doesn't matter who's cooking, whatever. If they don't do certain things you want right away, be patient, because if they're at least in their heart, they want to try and their intention is there, inshallah, they will learn how to do those things. So don't expect everything to happen, miracles to happen right away. It takes time.
So basically, the key to marriage is patience. That's what we learned.
Patience and understanding and communication is very important.
But yeah, we will end our video off here, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you guys had a question that you want to ask us to like respond to in the future, let us know down in the comments. And we will try making maybe a part 2 if you guys like this one.
If you guys haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Click the bell icon to get notified every time we post.
Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.